Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to tonight's Infosession, My MBA Journey. Did you ever ask yourself about the positive aspects and inner conflicts before starting an MBA? And if then, when you commit to such a program, which experiences you will have along the MBA journey? After graduation, you might think about the benefits such as career development, salary increase, and personal development. My name is Sabine, and I'm working for the Executive Academy for 12 years. Together with Georg Hadl, one of our global Executive MBA graduates, we are here tonight to answer your questions about all the MBA challenges and positive aspects you have. You are welcome to write your questions in the chat. We will answer them afterwards. And you can also unmute your microphone after the interview. Let me shortly introduce our guest for tonight. Georg Hadl graduated from the Global Executive MBA program in July 2020. That means, on the one hand, he has a lot of experience regarding the regular MBA journey and also, unfortunately, at the end, regarding the pandemic situation. When he joined the program in March 2019, he was head of product management and marketing at Ametec Ravner Instruments. It is an international technology group with 18,000 employees. Right after the graduation in July 2020, he changed to Vienna AG and worked there as operational excellence manager. And now he's working for Andritz as director for automation and digitalization. Georg has a totally different background, so he did not study business administration. He studied technical engineering here in Vienna at the Technical University. And on a private note, he's married and he has kids, and will also explain us some of the challenges and how he handled it. So with this introduction, let me quickly jump into the first question of tonight. Well, it seems like a lot of responsibility. You had a challenging job at Ametec, traveling, team lead, plus family and children at home. Why did you decide to do an MBA, and what was your motivation?
Yeah, thanks a lot for being here and for letting me share a little bit my journey. The reason why I choose such a program is mostly related to the own development wishes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And in my case, it was especially related to my job and also to the opportunities we saw about getting as a family further. Yeah, and as well, I mean the situation back in 2019, where globalization was on the full run, it was just a very logical step for me to go this direction.
Okay, that sounds very clear to me. So, and could you maybe explain us a little bit more about your career goals?
I mean, back at the time working for Ametec, located in the US, it was very clear for me that there has to be something on top that basically allows me to leverage also the needed experience from the American culture and from the American side, and that was for me the key reason to decide for exactly this program. Yeah.
Why exactly this program? How is it related to America?
I mean, for me, the major point to decide was basically the double degree. So the combination of having an MBA degree here in Austria, but also getting the second degree from the University of Minnesota. That was for me the key reason to decide amongst other MBAs that were all, let's say, interested to me. But as I said, the double degree, this was the key factor also for me to decide.
Okay. Well, then I would jump right into another topic. You explained it also a little bit with the double degree, but why did you then choose at the end the Executive Academy?
I mean, it was basically for two reasons. First of all, I mean, the flexibility of the program. Yeah, so means that it is a compact program. It is a program that is allowing for travel, for business, and also for family. Yeah. And of course, what is also a key factor is, I mean, that the accreditation of the program is internationally known, and this is also in terms of the further development for career, in my opinion, a very important topic to look also of this. And also, I mean, everybody looks at rankings and the program is ranked quite well, in my opinion. And also when talking to different companies, there is a certain, let's say, interest in having accredited studies, and that is for sure also a fact that has to be considered when deciding.
So you think when you apply for other jobs, do you think personnel managers, HR managers, they look carefully on the program where you did it, and as you said, it is ranked and from an accredited university?
At least in the last change I had, it was a topic.
Okay.
Yes, so it was recognized from the corporate management side that the programs are not any MBA that is really some MBA that is ranked, that has an international and global exposure, and especially for the role I'm having now, it is I would say a very key factor to separate yourself from any other candidate that applies.
Okay, great. So thank you for sharing the general information. I would now really focus on your personal experience. As you can see already, we are sharing here a picture of the first day when Georg started the Global Executive MBA program. You know, thinking back then, how was, you know, before coming on campus, the first days, getting to know each other, how was the experience?
I mean, it was a very, very strange situation because we were not known to each other at all. So this is not something that like you used from the university in general or from any other secondary school where you may know some of the guys. So this was really like a completely new experience to go into the classroom not knowing anybody besides of course the program managers that have started the process for the admission. And it was in effect interesting because you sit basically, I mean, you started the talk without having a big knowledge about the person that is opposite of you. But in my case, it was very fast that we saw that, okay, there is a certain common understanding why we are here.
Okay.
And also in the matter of diversity, when you see the group and you recognize, okay, there is, I cannot remember, it was maybe 12 or 14 different nationalities that contributed to this, to our cohort. That was for me a very interesting factor. I've worked in my whole life basically globally, so I'm used to cultures, but still this was a factor that I will not forget, you know, to start talking to somebody that comes from a country you haven't visited before, for example.
And would you also say that somehow the MBA is also like a safe environment? I mean, these are not your working colleagues. You must not be afraid of sharing maybe some information. And do you think it's working together with all these different people like really a safe space and make use also of all these brains and minds?
This is a factor what was a very, very nice experience to me, is that you start with somebody really from scratch, a relation, and you know that there is no really time to wait, so to develop something. So this is you do the first team building activity, and you are already thrown to the, how we say in Austria, the cold water, and you have to perform something. You know, you have to arrange yourself with people, and this is in a way when you have so many different nationalities and also genders, of course. It is a very, very extreme experience, maybe for also somebody like me that had a global exposure, that was used to, you know, talk to people that come from different continents.
Okay. And still, I think you are in good relationship with how is it? How do you? I mean, you developed working together with each other. On a personal side, how is it? Did you establish friendships as well, or is it just working and networking?
I think it is something that I have not expected to experience. So it was, first of all, I mean, you have a kind of a professional relationship after a very short period, because you're working in groups. You have to deliver in groups, not alone only. Yeah, and this is the first thing. But on the other side, we had really like developed in a very short period of time, in general, over the whole cohort, a very nice relationship with everybody. And I mean, thinking about now, I mean, we are meeting still on a maybe not on a monthly basis, but on a or quarterly basis. We're meeting, not with everybody, of course, because our cohort was really like global, with people living in South Africa, in China, in the US. So really like we cannot meet everybody at one place, but we are still with the group that is now living in Vienna, but also with the people that are, let's say, in the Central European region, and also from the time from Russia. We always had very good meetings, and we still have them. Yeah? So this is out of this professional relationship, we developed really a personal relationship that is something what I have personally not expected. That also this was a really surprise, and I'm still, you know, when we talk with the one or other, it's always nice to remember, you know, especially, for example, the first day or the first field trip. There are so many memories that coming back now. Yeah, it still sticks, you know.
Thank you for sharing some, you know, insights on, apart from the professional network, that you also established friendships, and you just mentioned the residencies. And so here, the guests can see it here in the presentation. So I'm sharing some pictures with all of you regarding the residencies. So in your case, your cohort, you traveled to Latin America, to Brazil and Argentina. And as it was the start of the pandemic, but we still made it to China and India. And then maybe you could also tell us something how we handled then at the end the graduation in the United States. But I think for the guests, it would be very interesting to know more about, okay, what happens on the residency.
Yeah, here on the pictures, I mean, we see two very impressive cities. One is Hong Kong, the other one is Rio de Janeiro. It is in general, when you start this field trip, yeah, it needs from your side a lot of interest in the culture, yeah. And from my side, I mean, I have worked in many countries before, but for me it was also a very, let's say, interesting time to prepare for this trip, you know, to arrange everything, because really it is up to you to make this trip a success, you know, to use the time, but also to extend the time, you know, to spend another day or another 2 days in the cities. And when you know, arriving, I remember still I arrived pretty late in Hong Kong in January due to business reasons, and I arrived exactly at the moment when the whole group came together in the hotel lobby, you know, and then it was like, okay, short briefing, what will happen tomorrow. And then we just changed clothes, and then the whole group went out for a very nice welcome dinner in Hong Kong. And this was a let's say, very special moment for me as well, because you see then people that have never been, for example, to China, sitting in a restaurant, trying to eat all different kinds of Chinese food, exploring, you know, so it is also, you discover there a lot of yourself, you know, how far you go in terms of tasting things, you know, trying things. And yeah, this was a very special moment. And of course, the other moment, and that is basically what was a nice experience in Rio, was we went up to the Sugarloaf Mountain, and we spent there the evening. So basically we could see the sunset over the crystals, you know, and it was a moment, you know, when seeing this, you know, you do this while you learn, while you improve your skills, while you improve your knowledge, and you still can have such experiences.
So, but I guess it's very much different from traveling on private reason or traveling for work. How is a common day on such a trip?
I mean, our days typically started with a breakfast together. So we tried to be to gather at a certain time. Of course, you have always some people that come a little bit earlier, that some come a little bit later, but we tried to, group ourselves, to start talking a little bit about what has happened the day before, and also, prepare ourselves a little bit what will happen, because of course the field trips, it is a kind of a vacation, but still, I mean, there is studies to do. You have to perform exercises. You have to read up front. You have to prepare yourself. And we use this time in the morning. Yeah. And then we had typically the morning was filled with studies. Yeah. So the guest lecturers came and gave us the lectures. We discussed about case studies that were related to the country or to even to the city where we were staying. And then, and after a typically short lunch, yeah, we started with customer, also with visits to companies, yeah. And for example, I mean, I've never thought that, I would visit Microsoft in Hyderabad and see what a workspace they have there in terms of modern workplace, in terms of collaboration work. This was for me such a surprise, because you come with a completely different impression to India, when you see the airport, when you see how the streets are crowded and so on. And then I remember this, we entered the building from Microsoft, and then you see a modern workplace that I think it's even hard to find in Europe.
Okay.
And then after, in the afternoon, when we had typically 2 to 3 company visits with presentations, question answer sessions, then of course it was a little bit our time also to reflect on the day, a little bit, sum up, because most of the post-module work from the field trips are related to the company visits, are related to some topics you discuss during the studies. So we tried basically to sum a little bit up, before then heading out for dinner and of course the one or other party.
Yes, of course. And so you would also that you immediately reflect and maybe take some notes, because I mean, I attended also some of the field trips as a program manager back then, some years ago, but I think it makes sense to immediately take notes and reflect, because you have a lot of impressions the whole day. You have lectures, you have company visits, you also maybe exchange with local people there. So I think it makes sense as an advice to immediately
yes. This is one advice that would give to the cohorts to come when being on a field trip, to spend half an hour to summarize a little bit, to take some notes, to also, just for me, it was to a little bit structure the pictures I've taken, to help me, line out the day. That is what I recommend everybody, because when you are overwhelmed with this experience, and then of course you enjoy the trip, you make friends, you develop the relationship you have with your colleagues. When you are arriving at home and you leave the plane, I can assure you that there is so much in your head that you have a hard time then to summarize day by day. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, this is something we really hear very often from students, that after one module or even after one trip, your head is already full with ideas and you really want to take them to work, bring them down on earth. So thank you for this advice, sharing with the guests here, that you immediately start to write down and take some notes and reflect on what just happened the last weekend or during the residency.
Yes, we see here also, just as a short note, the picture on the right side shows us at the Huawei test site for networks. That was one interesting thing, and we had a case about Huawei to work on. And just after this trip to see the technical solutions from Huawei, we went to the Huawei development city in Shenzen, and the information that was provided there was a big, contributor to the whole case what we had to work on, and this is really what I would recommend to the people. immediately sum the things, maybe just a few words, just that you keep the memories down, that you can draw a line across the trip. That's important.
Okay, thank you for sharing the insights during the residency. That brings me, and also sharing some advice already, that brings me to one of the next questions. So if you, we have a lot of people interested in different programs here, so not only the Global Executive MBA, but I guess it is valid for all the other programs. So if you would give 3 important, or maybe more or less like you wish, advice to MBA prospects, to people who really consider doing an MBA, what should have been told you in advance? So it does not matter if it is now the private reasons. So how did you maybe arrange with family and kids? What could you tell your employer? So the most important advice.
I mean, the one of the advices I would for sure give is make up your mind clearly what you would wish to reach for your career before really starting it. Yeah, because this is a very important factor, that you get yourself in the point where you really then can stick to something. Yeah, and you can also follow something. And this makes a lot of sense when you do this upfront, because it helps you to connect the dots you're seeing during the trip. Yeah. But what was for me for sure the big point was, I mean, when I decided to do the Global Executive MBA, it was a very short time after that also my wife decided to do the professional MBA here at the Executive Academy. And this was for sure something what we have a little bit underestimated, that the double workload plus the family was challenging. It was, in the end, when we look back, it was a hell of a ride. But when you're inside these months where especially where we were overlapping, with the cohorts, it was a challenging time. So this is for sure you should not underestimate, because you are still evaluated on your work and what you deliver. And if you wish to be one of the top graduates, you have to deliver all the time. And I mean, coming to the top graduates, it was in that way interesting also to see and to live this kind of competition. It is not like in school that you get angry when somebody has a better mark than you, but it was for me, and this advice is for everybody, to look at a little bit on this healthy competition between the students, because this pushes the whole group to more. Yeah. So if people lean back, of course, sometimes you have busy life in work or have families, demanding, so you cannot deliver all, and therefore there is also the advantage that you are with colleagues where you can get help from. You can get a little bit of a relief at some point, but in general, this healthy competition to push everybody in the same way up helps a lot to keep the spirit, and also to make the experience, the learning experience, the best.
Okay, also summing up, you should be very clear about your career goal.
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, it is important to talk also to the supervisor during this admission process. So you have to pitch the MBA anyway, in somewhere in the between of the admission process. But for yourself, you should be very clear about the career goals, where you want to go, and I think this also then has an impact on which MBA you choose. When it comes to private life, I mean, we all have private obligations, and I think it's very difficult also to arrange with family and kids. And you should very clearly talk with each other, and also about how much time it really takes. And as a third point, I wrote down here that you should really take advantage also of the competition. That is a positive competition that pushes you, that pushes the whole group, and that you should really, make use of it and not be afraid, but take it positively. And then everybody will be better at the end. Okay, I think this is the last question here for you, because I think everybody now is interested in how did you benefit from the MBA, especially when it comes to your career. Did you reach the career goals that you set in advance? And yeah, where are you now?
Coming back to the first answer about the first advice, that you should be clear about what you want to reach for your career. I mean, in my case, it was a very clear goal. I was always a fan of global businesses, of the general globalization, and for me, it was the choice was the best, because it was the program delivered me what I was looking for, to get an insight in many different ways how you manage global businesses, how you develop strategies that are not focused on a single market, that focused on many different aspects of what the global market has. And looking back now, I mean, if you reached your career goal, yes, I think at least that's what I was imagining when starting the global MBA, I did. I mean, my position now is really a global position. So I'm talking in the morning with China and Australia. I'm talking at lunchtime with the European guys, and in the afternoon it goes from East Coast to West Coast of the US. So it's really the position I'm holding now reflects very much what was my goal, to develop a global business for the company, and in that way. I would say yes, it is very much what I have expected, yeah. And also, I mean, the question for sure will arise about the salary. Yes, I have reached, I call it the return of the MBA, yes.
Okay. Thank you for mentioning this, because usually what we also found out in our alumni service, and also when it comes to the Financial Times ranking, usually you have an ROI of their investment after 3 years. So now you graduated 3 years ago. Well, almost. So I think, I think you maybe reached this goal even before.
Yes,
So,
I did reach the goal after 2 years. Yes, so it was, my goal was 2 years. I did reach it. So this was a very good effect. But even, you know, having this experience and the whole circle, what we got provided now with this MBA journey, even with that, I think that this is something what you cannot just monetize. This is something where I would say now, after 3 years, you know, I have profited even more than just from the monetary standpoint.
Okay. So thank you very much, Georg, for sharing insights during the MBA journey. As you can see on the slide here, now you are invited to ask your questions. You can just simply write your questions in the chat. I see that there is already one. So I think maybe you answer this question, because you can tell us from your real life experience, how many hours per week on the average did you spend on the MBA?
I think in average, I would say you have to spend most probably 1 to 1.5 hours a day. Yeah. So this was, I would say this is an average. Yeah. Of course, considering the residencies where you spend, of course, more time of your, let's say, private time, besides the business. But I would suggest if you calculate during the week with 1 to 1.5 hours, that is a very good starting point. So you end up around 30 to 40 hours per month on top of what you have to do. Yeah. Of course, when coming back to the average, we had also to complete the global team project for the graduation. And this global team project, of course, this stresses your ability to self-manage yourself. Because you will be talking to Chinese people, and the same time you will be talking to people from the University of Minnesota. So time management is for sure something what you learn a lot during these times, and this is also something what I enjoyed very much. You know, that you have to get yourself aligned. You have to also think how you manage this in terms of your job and your family, and this experience to talk at the same time with 3 different time zones, this is not everybody can have this in a normal job, and that is very, very interesting.
Thank you very much for sharing some information about the time consumption. Just for the audience, in the Global Executive MBA, we have a master thesis, which is a global team project. That means you work in a group together with Chinese and with American students. And for the other MBA programs, you have to write a master thesis. You can write this master thesis alone or also together with another peer, for example. But of course, you have to put the time for the master thesis on top of your regular modules. So it's not that you have maybe when you're used to it from your former studies, that you have like half a year time to finish your thesis. So it's really in parallel. You have the regular modules that take a lot of time, and you have to arrange with your peer group, because it's not only you. Maybe you like to work in the evening, but well, the others like to work on the weekend. So you have to arrange with each other. And then besides that, you also have the master thesis, which is then also very challenging at the same time.
But not undoable.
Yes, of course, you're still here. I'm happy about it.
No, this is true. So the master thesis, of course, everybody that has done one master thesis knows what are the efforts that you have to put in, and of course it is challenging. Besides having in my case a full-time job plus a family, and at that time a wife that was as well studying, so we had to arrange our days quite good. But the course of this time, when looking back, struggling to find a slot to do work, to complete parts, to review parts, to talk to the peers. It's a unique experience. So this is something what challenges you and also your environment, but in the end you just come out strong.
So unfortunately there are no questions in the chat, but I have one question for you. So for me it would be interesting, I'm doing research, looking for the right program. Maybe I have an Excel sheet, writing all the tuition fees and I don't know, facts about all the programs. So can you remember when you decided, now I'm doing the MBA? So what happened that you said, okay, now I'm starting in 2019 and not 2017, or postpone it to 2024. So maybe you could remember that if there was some key happening, or do you have to say to yourself, okay, now I'm doing it? So how is the process?
I mean, for me, it was a process that started maybe 3 months before I really applied for the MBA. To think about where your career should go, what you should do, seeing also the personal need that you want to evolve in different ways, and that was basically the point, and where I also entered in the discussion, of course, with my wife, because we knew that this will be time consuming. But in the end, when I remember I applied and when I had the interview, but by the way, you should prepare a little bit for the interview. It's not just a standard interview like for a job. It's really like an interview where you have to review some basic cases and deliver some of some results. When I went through the process and I got the okay that I can start, it was basically a decision of minutes. It was okay. There was no question then anymore to this year, next year. No.
Okay.
It was, for me, it was clear. Okay, now I'm doing it.
Okay.
And also, I have to say, my wife, she was extremely supportive also, because the discussions, of course, how much you need to spend and so on. She supported me quite a lot, but in the same way, she got this back also when she decided then to do it.
Okay. Yeah.
But in the end, it is really like, if you have the chance and you can get into the cohort, if you postpone the decision, then you'll never do it. So
okay.
This is my opinion about how to do this. Make sure, of course, the financing is there, and when you have the admission, do it.
Okay. Yeah, I think the longer you think about doing the MBA, and you always find reason why you cannot do something. But I guess there is then there's not a perfect moment because there will always be, obstacles on the way, but I guess there's the right moment for starting the MBA.
Like as we previously said about return of investment, and this is pretty much like an investment decision. Yeah? You can postpone investment decisions, but in the end, it will just cost you more money on not doing it right away. Yeah. So this is what I see is that, the time you're not educating yourself, the time that you're not using, to bring yourself to the next level is where you lose in the end. Yeah.
Great, really, thank you. Thank you very much. I also saw there is another question from Jakob, and he wants to know, do you benefit from the network you gained during the MBA in your work?
Yes, I have to say yes. We had, of course, I'm working in the area of digitalization in my current job, and we had quite a lot of peers coming from telecommunication, networking, IT industry. And I'm still in contact with these guys, when it comes to decisions, for your own roadmap, to get insights, okay, where some parts of technology move, where some parts of business move. Yeah. So this exchange is of course there, and I'm benefiting out of this quite a lot. Yeah. And also we had a couple of people from banking and financing, and also there it is very refreshing to take the phone, call up one of the colleagues and talk to them what is currently developing in terms of investments, in terms of global money exchange, about different things that for me having a global position are important. So yes.
But would you say that, of course, it also depends on you? If you do not, participate maybe in going out with each other and also sharing your knowledge with others. So I guess maybe this is also, of course, up to you. Then you also have to give something to get back. And
yes, I think your question can be very well summarized. If you're not communicating, you're not getting the experience.
Okay.
So you have to be open. You have to go towards the people. And you have to keep the contact. Yeah. If you don't keep the contact, this is with every relationship. Yeah. If you don't talk, the relationship breaks. Yeah? And if you are eager to communicate with the people, the more you communicate with the people, the more you earn and you gain, and the more the others profit from it. Yeah. So this is really a key that you communicate from day one on with the people in order to Sometimes it's about simple things, small things, private things, what have most probably not a big effect for you, but it has a very big effect on the relationship you build, and that you can then afterwards, of course, benefit.
And I think you just mentioned it also, be open, yes, and engage with each other. As I said also before, use it also as a safe space and share knowledge with each other. And I think then you can also, of course, benefit from the network. Maybe sometimes you also have to get out of your comfort zone when you do something that you have not done or you're not used to to do it in work, for example. So I think you also have to get also out of your comfort zone to establish the network.
Exactly, yes. And this is a big point. So you have to engage with the people there, and you basically are sitting in the driver's seat to make this experience the best. If you rely on somebody else to make the whole journey, let's say, a life-changing experience, then you're most probably not the right person to join this. But if you are willing and if you are eager to drive, then you will have the best experience you can have.
Okay, thank you. There is a question regarding the network. Is there a database with all WU members or alumni you can contact?
Maybe you can answer that. Yes, there is. You can, I don't know the numbers, but yes, there is, and yes, I have used it. Details will be better.
Yes, so we have a network. Basically, it looks like a little bit linked, like LinkedIn. So it's the WU Executive Club, and once you graduated from an MBA program, or even before when you're a student, you will be also always integrated already in this network. So you can already contact, you can look for jobs, you can also post jobs. So if there are vacancies in your company, you can post a job. You can also look for mentors, you can look for help, or maybe people when you want to make a startup. So yes, you will be integrated in the network. And with the Global Executive MBA, you will be also part of the Carlson School of Management alumni network. So if you are working globally and want to keep the contact with the American colleagues, you can also make use of this network.
Yes, and I mean, in our case, we had a very nice experience also with the previous cohort. So when we had an overlapping activity during July, and basically that was the time when they graduated. So we had a very big party where we both came together as two cohorts. And that also made friends, even that we just had more or less a party together. I'm still in contact with a couple of the guys from the previous cohort, and we have also private contact, not just on a business side.
It is interesting because several times you mentioned friendship. And I'm doing consulting also for people who are interested in all different kind of MBA programs. And you know what is interesting? At the beginning, they all tell me, yeah, I want to establish or increase my network. But what comes out at the end is not just, you know, the professional network, but it's friendship.
Yes.
And I think this is, you have said it perfectly. You don't expect this. And of course, when you establish friendship, it's much more deeper than just, you know, having some business contacts. So I'm really, really happy also for you that you established friendship, and something that you also did not expect.
Yes, and to add on the friendship, I have to say also knowing different MBAs from colleagues and from friends, what really makes a difference also for in terms of the friendship is the field trips, the residencies, because you're together for a week or for 2 weeks, So really you can exchange so many things during this time, that any other MBA that does not provide this can just not give it, because you come into the university, you do your thing, you do your post modules, your pre modules, and you're out. And you can meet for a party, but you do not have this intense contact when being together for a week or for 2 weeks abroad, where you have basically 24 hours to develop the relationships.
So thank you for sharing, because this could also be another advice. Basically, all our MBA programs have an international residency. Of course, with the Global EMBA, because it's a global program, we have 3 international residencies, but all our MBA programs provide an international residency that gives you the opportunity to really establish friendship, to get very deep into the context and also into the knowledge. So thank you very much for this. There is another question that just came in. May I ask for the total sum of the costs, including flights, etc.? Just an approximate number.
Actually, it's a good question. Let's say it was roughly 70,000 euros for the Global Executive MBA. But considering, of course, that we had, unfortunately, due to COVID, the last residents in the US did not come through. But I think this varies a little bit also in terms of course, if you buy yourself different flight classes, so this is also changing a little bit, of course, the sum. But I would say that let's say rock bottom for a Global Executive MBA in my times would have been probably around 60,000 euros.
Thank you. Yes, you just mentioned it. This is the sum for the Global Executive MBA. Of course, the other MBAs, they are a little bit different also when it comes to the residencies. So if you would like to go more into detail with this question, we can talk about this, especially also in your case. Because Christian, he asked this question, when it comes also to scholarship possibilities or fundings or financing, etc. So if you are more interested in detail, we can get in contact with each other afterwards.
And I have to say, I recommend this very much. Also, when it comes for Austrian citizens to tax returns, I very much recommend to get in contact because there is a lot of money that is on the table and you just have to take it.
So at the end, it's not so
In
much.
the end, it's not so much, but my return of investment was based on the investment I did and not on the tax returns,
Yes. Okay.
to be clear.
There is another question from, I don't know, it's just an abbreviation here, but he or she wants to know, what advice would you give future participants? I mean, we talked already about this. So
Exactly, be very clear what you want to reach. Yeah, so make up your mind very thoroughly. Yeah, be also clear what this affects, besides yourself. Yeah, and enjoy the ride.
yeah, so be clear about the career goals, talk to your family, to your employer, really be aware of the time frame that an MBA takes. Of course, you just said it before we started this official part here. It's doable. Yeah, of course, it's a part-time program, and it fits into working schedule. But of course, it's a lot that comes on top to your other obligations. Yeah, what you also mentioned was that you should really benefit and take advantage from the competition with each other, to make use of the brains and minds there, and of the different people, and not be shy.
Yes.
Get yourself out of the comfort zone when you work with each other.
You know that if you do not ask, you do not get an answer. But if you ask, the less what can happen is a no. But this has never happened.
Yeah.
So everybody is in the same boat. So to be open to ask is never leading you to a dead end road.
Thank you. There is no other question right now, so I think I would give maybe 1 minute or so. If someone wants to ask something, you can also unmute yourself. You can write the question down, and there is another slide to come, but it does not work now. But the recording of this interview and the presentation will be sent out next week. So if you have questions, also the contact details are there. You can contact me. You can also contact Georg if you want to have more insights about the program. So yeah.
Yes, I'm really looking forward to getting some questions from your side. I mean, we had a lot of participants, a lot of interest is shown. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I have done this a couple of times already. Sabine knows this, so I'm very open to talk with people, and maybe also have a drink if somebody wishes to talk a little bit more in detail. But that is, of course, one of the advantages you have with the community, that everybody is aware of the needs what you as new candidates have, in terms of what you want to know, what are your fears, what are your experiences, expectations. Yeah. So just don't hesitate, as I said, always ask.
Of course, we can arrange one-on-one consultations, and I'm happy to answer all your questions regarding all the different kind of MBA programs. And then I think, yeah, we will finish this interview. We leave you maybe with some thoughts, hopefully, and also some decisions. And it would be great getting in contact with you, and yeah, also helping you with decision making. So we wish you a nice evening. And thank you very much for joining this interview tonight.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.